In just 30 minutes, she sold out an entire stadium. Thousands of Filipino flags now fill the stands. The menu has been changed to include chicken adobo. And the tennis world is asking the same question. How did a 21-year-old from Manila become the hottest ticket in the sport? What happened next left 10,000 fans speechless and brought a nation to its feet. The moment her second-round match was announced, the tickets vanished in just 30 minutes. Not for a Grand Slam champion, not for a former world number one. For a 21-year-old from Manila who has turned a tennis tournament into a Filipino festival. The National Bank Open in Toronto had never seen anything like it. Tournament director Carl Hale, a man who has orchestrated some of the biggest events in Canadian tennis history, was left stunned by the demand. "We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect," Hale told reporters. "I think her fans were specifically waiting to see when she played." The numbers tell a story of unprecedented demand. According to tournament sources, around 3,100 tickets were purchased immediately after Eala's opening match was announced last Friday. By Sunday, every available seat for Wednesday night session had been sold. But here's what made this even more remarkable. Eala wasn't scheduled to play on the main court. The organizers had initially placed her match on the grandstand, a secondary venue with just 2,800 seats. That decision was quickly overturned. "Our grandstand court is 2,800 seats. We can't put her on there because she probably sold upwards of 5,000 tickets," Hale told the Tennis Channel. The organizers had no choice but to move Eala to center court, the main stadium of SoBi Stadium, which holds 12,500 spectators. This was where the biggest stars played. Iga Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka had already appeared on that court earlier in the tournament. Now, Eala was being treated like a star the tournament had built its schedule around. But it wasn't just the ticket sales that stunned organizers. It was the comparison that followed. According to Tennis Connected, the sellout was even more significant than it first appeared. Interesting fact. Wednesday night is sold out in Toronto because of Alexandra Eala. From reliable sources, I can tell you that only Serena has done that in the last 20 years, not Rafael Nadal. Not Roger Federer. Not Novak Djokovic, the 3 greatest men's players in tennis history, with a combined 66 Grand Slam singles titles between them, could not achieve what Alex Eala had now achieved. Serena's farewell tour in Toronto in 2022 was a moment etched in tennis history. When she announced her retirement, ticket sales for her second-round match boomed, and the stadium packed with 12,500 spectators. It was an emotional farewell, a city saying goodbye to a legend. Now, just 4 years later, a 21-year-old from Manila has matched that feat. Not because she's retiring, not because she's saying goodbye, but because she has become a phenomenon that fans simply cannot miss. Hale acknowledged the historic nature of the sellout, noting that Eala's popularity transcends the traditional tennis audience. "All the tournament directors are talking about it. Everybody in the industry is talking about it," he said, and the tournament wasn't just adapting its schedule. The SoBi Stadium would be packed with 10,000 spectators. The Filipino community in Toronto was mobilizing in force, and the chants of "Eala! Eala!" were about to echo through center court for the first time. The phenomenon that began in Australia, grew in Dubai, exploded in Washington, and had now crossed into Canada with the force of a diaspora that would not be ignored. The stage was set. The crowd was coming. And Alex Eala was about to step onto center court in front of a sold-out stadium. Something that had only been achieved by one other player in the last 20 years. A player named Serena Williams. 7 months. That's how long Alex Eala has been waiting for this moment. 7 months since she walked off the court at Melbourne Park, her head hanging, having just suffered a heartbreaking defeat in the first round of the Australian Open. 7 months since she watched Alycia Parks celebrate a victory that should have been hers. 7 months of growth, improvement, and an unshakable belief that she would get another chance. The moment has arrived. Eala's opening opponent at the National Bank Open in Toronto is none other than Alycia Parks, the same American who defeated her in the first round of the Australian Open last January. The scoreline that day was brutal. 0-6, 6-3, 6-2. Eala had been bajilled in the first set, a humiliation that would have broken lesser players. But she fought back, won the second set, and pushed the third to its limit before ultimately falling short. The match was watched by a capacity crowd on Court 6 at Melbourne Park, with hundreds of Filipino fans waving flags and cheering every move. The atmosphere was electric, so much so that the chair umpire had to caution the crowd multiple times about the noise during points. Eala fed off that energy in the opening set, breaking Parks in a marathon 12-minute opening game that featured 8 breakpoint chances, then reeling off the next 5 consecutive games to pocket the first set in just 22 minutes. But Parks raised her intensity at the top of the second frame. The shots she had been missing early began landing in play. The 6'1" American from Atlanta won 12 of the next 17 games to upset the crowd favorite. Eala showed her trademark grit in erasing an early 3-0 deficit in the second set, racking up 3 straight games to tie the frame. But Parks regained control, benefiting from Eala's errors to take the lead, then firing back-to-back aces to take the set 6-3. In the third set, it was back and forth early, with Eala holding her serve to trail 2-3. But she fell prey to unforced errors in the ensuing games and allowed Parks to get back in control, 5-2. Eala looked poised to save a match point, forcing deuce on a Parks double fault, and getting to breakpoint when the American sent her forehand return into the net. But she couldn't complete the comeback, committing another error before Parks fired a forehand winner to reach match point. Another error by Eala wrapped up the match after 1 hour and 56 minutes. "I think it's only normal that with a loss comes disappointment and being upset," Eala said after that defeat. "But then again, it's another opportunity for me to take and learn and grow as a player." Those words proved prophetic. 7 months later, Eala has become a completely different player. And Parks is about to find out just how much. Alycia Parks is a player of immense power. Known for her killer serves, she holds a serve that can touch 129 miles per hour, matching the mark set by Venus Williams in 2007. At 6'1", she towers over Eala's 5'9" frame. Her game is built on raw power, the kind that can blow any opponent off the court when she's on. Parks has a career-high ranking of number 40, achieved in August 2023, and has won 1 WTA singles title. She has also reached the 3rd round of the Australian Open and has significant experience on the big stage. But much has changed since that January meeting. Eala has surged from no. 49 at the time to a career-high number 20 this week. She has won her first WTA title, a WTA 500 trophy in Washington. She has beaten Olympic gold medalists, defending champions, world number 10s, 4-time Grand Slam champions, and the world number 3. Parks has also improved, climbing from number 99 to number 71. But the gap between them has grown, and it's Eala who has done the growing. Eala has been on a revenge tour. According to reports, she has avenged losses to the last 6 opponents who had previously beaten her. The streak is a testament to her growth, her determination, and her refusal to let past defeats define her. Now, Parks represents the 7th name on that list, the one who started it all. The match in Toronto is more than just a chance for revenge. It's a test of how far Eala has come. Can she handle the power of Parks, who has been preparing for this matchup with her own set of weapons? Her serve remains one of the most dangerous on tour. If it's firing, she can beat anyone. But Eala's game has evolved significantly since Melbourne. Her variety, her tactical intelligence, and her ability to stay composed under pressure have all improved. She has learned to neutralize power with precision, to frustrate aggressive players by retrieving impossible balls, and to stay patient until the right moment to strike. As tournament chairman Mark Ine noted in Washington, Eala's game is about taking away time and cutting the court, and the crowd will be firmly behind her. The Toronto Filipino community has already sold out the night session. Eala will have a home court advantage that Parks has never experienced. The chants of Allah, Eala, will echo through Sobeys Stadium, lifting the Filipina and intimidating her opponent. It's a phenomenon that even seasoned tennis observers have called next level. The stage is set. The redemption match is here. Alycia Parks stands in her way. And Eala is ready to prove that the loss in Melbourne was just a chapter, not the end of the story. The moment Eala's name appeared on the National Bank Open schedule, something extraordinary began to unfold in Toronto. Not just a ticket rush, not just a stadium sellout. A cultural phenomenon that would transform a tennis tournament into something the city had never seen before. The numbers tell a story of unprecedented demand. When tickets for Eala's second-round match against Alycia Parks were released, they vanished within 30 minutes. Tournament director Carl Hale was left stunned. "We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect," Hale told reporters. "I think her fans were specifically waiting to see when she played." But the demand wasn't just about the tickets. It was about who was buying them. And for the Filipino diaspora in Toronto, this was a moment they had been waiting for. The Greater Toronto Area is home to one of the world's largest Filipino communities. Over 250,000 individuals of Filipino descent call the region home. When Eala's match was announced, the community mobilized instantly. Social media channels exploded with excitement. Families planned watch parties. Friends coordinated travel plans. The Filipino consulate and community groups promoted the tournament. And when the tickets went on sale, they disappeared in half an hour. Jason Maglante, Tennis Canada's Senior Director of Ticket Sales and Services, watched the phenomenon unfold firsthand. A Torontonian of Filipino heritage, he had been tracking Eala's rise for months. "Speaking to my family and friends in the community, people started asking me about her. 'Is she coming? Can I know a little bit more about her?' he said. And these are people who don't even follow tennis. When the National Bank Open announced Eala would play in Toronto, Maglante's phone blew up. Messages flooded in from friends and family, and then again after she won in Washington. "We're pretty proud of anything that comes out of our country in the Philippines," he said. "The only thing I know of, with this kind of hype among Filipinos in the sports realm, would be the boxer Manny Pacquiao." The tournament had to adapt quickly to accommodate the massive Filipino crowd expected to attend. Organizers made a decision that had never been made before in tournament history. They added traditional Filipino dishes to the food offerings. Chicken adobo was added to the menu specifically for Eala's night session. Maglante projected that 8 out of 10 fans in the stadium could be of Filipino heritage. That's 8,000 people in a 10,000-seat stadium, all united in support of a 21-year-old from Manila who had captured the heart of an entire diaspora. The tournament also benefited from a scheduling quirk that amplified the excitement. Eala's match was scheduled to follow home favorite Leylah Fernandez's match against Renata Zarazua. Fernandez, whose mother is of Filipino descent, is already popular within the community. Having both players on the same night created a perfect storm of Filipino pride. To have both of them play on the same night is incredible for the community, Maglante said. Eala herself was overwhelmed by the reception before she even stepped onto the court. In her pre-tournament press conference, she spoke with genuine excitement about what she was about to experience. "Yes, I've been told that it's going to be a full house tomorrow. So I'm really very excited to see and experience the atmosphere," Eala said. "It's nice to see that the Filipino community is really showing up and they're enjoying tennis. Hopefully it will help grow the sport as well and in the end give them a new experience. A joyful experience." The scene in Toronto was the culmination of a phenomenon that had been building for months. At the Australian Open, thousands of Filipino fans had queued for hours to watch Eala on a small outside court, creating a logjam that organizers had never seen before. In Dubai, Jessica Pagula could hear Eala's fans from her hotel room. In Washington, tournament chairman Mark Ein revealed that 80% of ticket inquiries, if not more, were about Eala. Now, the phenomenon had crossed the border and arrived in Toronto with even greater force. "It's been an amazing 24 hours for me," Eala said, describing the whirlwind of winning her first WTA title and immediately transitioning to Toronto. So many emotions, so many things to process, and processing also the transition from one tournament to another. "So I'm really excited to reset and be here in Toronto for the first time." The Filipino diaspora had arrived. And for one night, Sobeys Stadium would be transformed into a celebration of Filipino pride. The flags would wave, the chants would echo, and Alycia would step onto center court in front of a crowd that had traveled across the city, across the country, and across the world to support her. In just 30 minutes, she sold out an entire stadium. Thousands of Filipino flags now filled the stands. The menu had been changed to include chicken adobo, and the tennis world was asking the same question. How did a 21-year-old from Manila become the hottest ticket in the sport? What happened next left 10,000 fans speechless and brought a nation to its feet. The match that everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. Eala walked onto center court at Sobeys Stadium on Wednesday night, August 5, 2026, to a roar that shook the foundations of the venue. The 500-seat stadium was packed to capacity. Every single ticket had been sold within 30 minutes of the match being announced. Tournament director Carl Hale had called it unprecedented for a player ranked outside the top 5. Standing across the net was Alycia Parks, the same American who had broken Eala's heart at the Australian Open 7 months earlier. Parks, the fastest woman server in WTA history, shares the distinction with Venus Williams at 129 miles per hour, a record she set at the 2021 US Open. At 6'1", she towers over Eala's 5'9" frame, and her game is built on raw power that can blow any opponent off the court. But this was a different Alycia. From the very first point, it was clear that Eala had come to settle a score. She had spent 7 months thinking about this moment. 7 months of growth, improvement, and an unshakable belief that she would get another chance. I think I've improved as a player now compared to the beginning of the year, Eala had said before the match. And she proved it. Her game was sharper, her movement quicker, her belief unshakable. She neutralized Parks' devastating serve with surgical precision, refusing to let the American dictate points the way she had in Melbourne. I think I've improved as a player now compared to the beginning of the year, Eala said. It's been a crazy 24 hours. My mind's just been going back and forth between focusing on the next match and, wow, did I really just do that? The crowd lifted her. Thousands of Filipino Canadians packed the stands, waving red, white, and blue flags, chanting her name with an intensity that bordered on religious fervor. The Sobeys Stadium, which holds 10,000 spectators, was transformed into a celebration of Filipino pride. Jason Maglante, Tennis Canada's Senior Director of Ticket Sales and Services, had projected that 8 out of 10 fans in the stadium could be of Filipino heritage. And when the final point was won, when Eala closed out the match with the kind of precision that had become her trademark, the eruption was deafening. The chants of Eala, Eala echoed through the night. The flags waved higher than ever, and Eala had done it. She had avenged her Australian Open loss. She had proven that she could handle the power of Parks. She had taken another step toward tennis immortality. It's a first for me, so I'm learning how to handle it, Eala had said earlier. I have, I guess, all my life to celebrate my first WTA title, but the celebration would have to wait. Because waiting in the next round was another familiar foe, reigning Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova, the 6th seed who had beaten Eala in both their previous meetings. And beyond that, the world number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, lurked in the lower half of the draw. The $7.43 million prize pool of the Canadian Open, a WTA 1000 event, beckoned. But for Eala, the victory was about more than money. It was about proving that her DC Open title was not a one-time miracle. It was the beginning of something much bigger. The victory over Alycia Parks was more than just revenge. It was a statement, a declaration that the Alycia who walked off the court in Melbourne with her head hanging was gone forever. In her place stood a champion who had conquered the toughest draw in Washington, who had climbed to a career-high note, 20 in the world, and who was now ready to take on the biggest challenge of her career. The $7.43 million prize pool of the Canadian Open beckons, a WTA 1000 event where the champion earns 1,000 ranking points and a life-changing payday. But for Eala, the victory was about more than money. It was about proving that her DC Open title was not a one-time miracle. It was the beginning of something much bigger. The redemption tour continues. According to Rappler, Eala has been on a revenge tour, avenging losses to the last 6 opponents who had previously beaten her. She turned the tables on Jessica Pegula, Leylah Fernandez, Jung Chinwen, Iga Swiatek, and others who had defeated her in previous encounters. Now, Parks became the latest name on that list, the one who started it all, but the road ahead is treacherous. If Eala gets past Parks, she will face a familiar foe in the 3rd round. Linda Noskova, the 8th seed from the Czech Republic, has beaten Eala twice this season, 6-2, 6-0 at Indian Wells, and 6-2, 6-4 in the Berlin Open semifinals. Eala has a 1-13 record against Czech opponents, with her lone victory coming against Nikola Bartunkova in the WTA 125 Birmingham Open final. Eala herself has acknowledged the challenge that Noskova presents. She's a big hitter and she's young, but she has a lot of experience and she's very powerful, Eala said of Noskova after their Berlin meeting. My last match with her proved to be very difficult for me. So, coming into the semifinals, I hope to prepare and make some improvements and show what I've got. But beyond Noskova looms an even bigger challenge. A potential quarterfinal showdown with Coco Gauff, the number 4 seed. And beyond that, a semifinal clash with world no. 1 Aryna Sabalenka if the seeds hold. Eala has been open about her admiration for Sabalenka's game. In an interview with Tennis Express, she was asked if she could take a shot from any player in tennis, what would it be and who from? Without hesitation, she responded, I would steal Sabalenka's serve for sure. Sabalenka has one of the strongest serves on the WTA Tour, with a service game won percentage of 88.3% this season, the 2nd highest of any woman. Eala, who has a 9-4 record against top 10 players, including her past 5 such matches, will need every weapon in her arsenal if she faces the world number 1. The stage is set. The crowd is behind her. The $7.43 million prize awaits. And Eala is one step closer to history. But here's what makes this story truly remarkable. Eala has been balancing the grueling singles schedule with a doubles partnership with Venus Williams. The duo received a wild card entry to play in Toronto, and they are scheduled to face Lyudmila Samsonova and Miyu Kato in the round of 32. It's a partnership that has already produced magic at the Bad Homburg Open, where they reached the quarterfinals. The Canadian Open marks Eala's first event as a top 20 player, and she is handling the pressure with the same composure she displayed in Washington. It's been a crazy 24 hours, she said before her Parks match. My mind's just been going back and forth between focusing on the next match and wow, did I really just do that? The question is no longer whether Eala can compete with the best. She has already proven that she can. The question is, how far can she go? The Canadian Open is just the beginning. The US Open looms on the horizon and Eala is just getting started. What happens when a 21-year-old from Manila, fresh off the biggest victory of her career, faces the world number 1 for the first time? What happens when a nation of 110 million people, a diaspora that spans the globe, and a sport that has been forever changed by her rise are all watching? And when Eala steps onto the court in Toronto, will she be playing for herself? Or for the millions who believe in her? One step closer to history, the journey continues. Eala has done it again. Just days after winning her first WTA title in Washington, the 21-year-old Filipina avenged her Australian Open loss to Alycia Parks in front of a sold-out Toronto crowd. With a career-high ranking of number 20, a $7.43 million prize pool in her sights, and a potential showdown with world no. 1 Aryna Sabalenka looming, Eala is proving that her DC Open triumph was just the beginning. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We bring you the biggest stories in tennis, drama, and emotion every single week. Don't miss what happens next.